Namaste, record loving friends. This is Brian from Tokyorecordstyle. I am just on my lunch break and I thought I would just fire up the old video camera here and mention this amazing place in Ebisu where I work. This restaurant called Kumbila. Really crazy place. This kind of like bizarre, architectural, awesome, cool, weird place that is run by some Nepalese posse, and it's called Kumbila. They have an amazing lunch buffet and they're really nice, and I think it's kind of like a Nepalese and Tokyo institution. I believe the owner is a very long-term resident here in Tokyo, and she, I think, is maybe in cahoots with the Nepalese royal family from back in the day. And I mention it because I have some connections to Nepal. I went there 20 years ago. I've mentioned it here on these videos before. It was sort of the impetus to getting me to Japan. I had some Nepalese friends in Boulder, Colorado. They invited me to Nepal, and eventually I went there, had the most amazing time. Actually went there twice. I visited there once and was just totally blown away. Sensory overload in the first, 2 hours that I was there. Cows on the streets and just kind of pandemonium and amazing smells and sounds and colors on the streets. Then I spent quite a long time there, and then I left and I went on to India. After I spent a couple months in India, I went back to Nepal, and it dawned on me only then, like, what a chill, cool, great place. India is amazing, but it's a totally different vibe than Nepal, and the Nepalese people are just, I think on the whole, don't want to stereotype, but much more laid back. The whole vibe is just a little bit more chilled out. So yeah, they've got an amazing little lunch buffet there, and if you come to Tokyo, I actually recommend, it's worth the trip over to Ebisu station to come to some of the great restaurants actually in Ebisu. Ebisu is famous for lots of great restaurants. It's a commercial side of town. It also has a little bit of an interesting history that I just know a little tiny bit about. It's one of the major stops on the Yamanote line, the big loop that goes around Tokyo, and it's the station just south of Shibuya. So, big famous Shibuya with the, crazy intersection and giant TVs and stuff. And Ebisu is a lively place. I've been working here for the last 10 years almost, and I've kind of grown to love it. And now there's something interesting about Ebisu. There's a shrine that I visited here some time ago. I don't even remember very well where it is, but on the grounds of the shrine, if you look carefully, you can find seashells, which is a bit weird because the sea is quite far away. I was told that the extent of Tokyo Bay at one point came all the way to Ebisu, and it was almost like a fisherman's village, a historic Tsukiji. Tsukiji is the famous fish market in Tokyo, and I think in the Edo period, in the feudal days of Japan, when Tokyo was just getting established as the eastern capital, it was at least connected to the bay. So for that reason, there are seashells. You can find seashells here. And Ebisu, the name Ebisu, you may have heard of this because of like Ebisu beer, one of the most delicious beers in Japan. Their main office is and brewery here. And the meaning of Ebisu is, he's actually this character that you're looking at right here behind me on my shoulder. Ebisu is one of the 7 lucky gods, the Shichi Fukujin, the 7 lucky gods, 7 lucky people. And now I'm gonna botch this story, but I'm gonna tell it to you anyway because it's a pretty good story. When Ebisu was born, apparently he was born without a skeleton, as legend has it. And one of the 7 lucky gods told his mother to wait 3 days. If he didn't grow a skeleton within 3 days, that she should dump him in the ocean. Well, a bit mortified, she took the lucky god's advice. After 3 days, Ebisu didn't actually grow a skeleton, so she threw him in the ocean. Ebisu sank down to the bottom of the sea, where after some time, he actually started developing a skeleton, and he started swimming and growing and becoming one of the many living sea creatures. And he made friends with the life of the ocean, the fish and the octopus and the squids and sharks and whales and so on. And he spent so much time down there that he lost some of his senses that his fellow gods had. One of these senses was hearing. He spent so much time at the bottom of the sea that he lost his ability to hear. Well, eventually, he was discovered by the Ainu people, which are Japan's native tribes people who I believe once lived in the south of Japan and were sort of pushed to the north of Japan. They were once in the Kyushu region, I believe, and now they're most known in the Hokkaido island in the north. And they have beautiful costumes and a totally different culture and language. And I think they might even have like totem poles or various symbology that resembles the tribes of the Pacific Northwest. So a very beautiful culture. I wish I knew a little bit more about it. But anyway, the Ainu people discovered Ebisu swimming in the sea on a fishing trip once. And they rescued him and brought him to their village. That's where he became the god that we know him today. If you look at him, Ebisu is carrying a fish. And the reason that he's carrying a fish is because he is friends with the fish. And apparently during August, I believe it is, or possibly October or November, I can't really remember which month it is, but one of the fall months, one of the 7 lucky gods directs the other 6 to all take a break and to take the month of October, I'll say, off. Well, Ebisu is the only one who doesn't quite get this memo because he can't hear. And this happens to be the month when the big fish harvests come. All the various fish that we all have come to love, the hamachis and the tunas and the masus and the asabas and I don't know what else, but they all come and are caught this time of year. So that is why Ebisu is a beloved god of the fish, and you'll see him pictured often holding a fish, even on the Ebisu beer cans that are, you know, if you have Ebisu beer in your neck of the woods, which one of the more delicious sort of, you know, kuchi, what's that called? The Karakuchi beers flavors in Japan, one of the most delicious sort of summery beers, although they have lots of different tastes. I believe he's holding a fish on the beer can. And now I'm gonna tell you another quick story while I show you this beautiful mural that's on the wall here. I'm passing under the overpass of the train, and there's this beautiful mural that pays tribute to Ebisu City and the various stories that I'm kind of alluding to here. That's the story of Ebisu. This next story I want to share with you is the story of Sama Matsuri, the mackerel festival in Meguro, which is the next station south of Ebisu on the Yamanote line. Now, the Sama Matsuri, Sama is the name of a fish and Matsuri is festival. Sama is, I think it's a mackerel. It's a kind of a silver fish. Sauri or something like this. I don't know the English name, but at any rate, there's one day a year in Meguro, which was also said to be the extent of Tokyo Bay, an extension of this fisherman's village that I'm talking about, where you'd find lots of fishermen and fish markets. And there is a story, as legend has it, of the emperor of Japan who would occasionally sneak out of the imperial palace in disguise to go check on the people of Edo, Tokyo's former name, the former identity of the city. And he would just check on the denizens of Edo and make sure everybody was fed and well kept. And once he came to Meguro, where upon he found a fishing village, and he found all the local people eating a fish that he was unfamiliar with. The emperor had only ever had these sort of delicacy fishes, the various exotic tropical fish that perhaps aren't really that delicious actually. And he found the local regular, you know, townspeople, working class people eating these bluefish, this sort of working man's fish, the mackerel. He decided that he would have some street fare and got one of these fish. It was so delicious. He got it from a local stall where the guy was broiling the fish on an open flame, and it was a bit burnt and charred, as it often is in sort of the, you know, busy street fare. It was the most delicious fish he had ever had. And he went back to the palace and reported his adventures to his fellow courts people, and particularly to the chef, who he said, "I ate the most delicious fish in Meguro. I've never seen or heard of this fish before. It was a long silver blue fish and it was amazing. I'd like you to prepare it for me." The chef agreed, but the emperor had one request, that it not be so charred. He wanted it a bit more golden and not burnt black as had it in Meguro. And so the chef agreed and got one of these fish and made it a perfect golden brown for the emperor. Now, the emperor ate the fish and was a little bit disappointed to find out that it wasn't as delicious as the one that he had had in Meguro, and asked the chef to once again cook him this delicious mackerel samma fish, and to make it a little bit more charred this time, but just a little bit, not too charred. The chef tried again, and as you can imagine, it didn't meet the emperor's expectations, and again, until the emperor finally said, "Take me back to Meguro. I must have the fish that I had there at the fisherman's market." So he got his disguise and ventured out of the palace once again, back to Meguro, where somebody spotted him as the emperor. He was discovered and he had to hightail it out of there. The fishing village was so delighted that the emperor had come to eat their local working class fish, samma, that they hold a festival in honor of this occurrence every year, where they grill up thousands upon thousands of these cheap blue fish and serve them for free. Actually, people queue up for literally a mile down the street to get their one free mackerel fish during the samma matsuri. So those are kind of two fun stories to share with you that come from Shibuya-ku, which is the Shibuya township, and in these two little districts, Ebisu and the next one adjacent to Shibuya, Meguro. So I hope you enjoyed it. A little off the topic for Tokyo Record Style, I realize, but hey, you know, I had a little time to kill. And I just want to also remind everybody that this Saturday, April 27th, if you happen to be in Tokyo, we're going to have our 8th edition of Tokyo Record Style Day, where we go record shopping with our pals. Simple as that. We just pick a day on the calendar and find a cool independent record store close to, well, anywhere really. It's a great way to kind of discover new neighborhoods and to venture to a part of the city that you don't normally go. You know, meet up with record loving pals, and I can kill two birds with one stone, iseki nicho, as we say in Japanese, and I can enjoy some time with my friends, and I can get some photos of new subjects for the Tokyo Record Style project. If you don't know about the Tokyo Record Style project, it's a photography project that combines my love for photography and music and storytelling, which is kind of what we're leaning into today, storytelling. So I'll leave it at that. Come to Garageville. I don't think I mentioned it. Garageville Records in Tsutsujigaoka on the KO line between Meidaimai and Chofu on Saturday, April 27th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And if you're ever in Ebisu or Meguro and near Taco Colon, this is the Octopus Park, then give me a shout out and maybe we can meet up here, or who knows, maybe at the next Samma Matsuri. Okay guys, thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, and share. Appreciate you joining me on this beautiful day. Until next time, I'll see you at the record store. Bye.